Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome to my studio. This is Paint with Lovejoy. Thanks so much for joining me. If this is your first time here, please subscribe to the channel and check out the other videos. And if you're here for a second, third, or fourth time, thank you so much for coming back and getting creative. Alright guys, this is going to be another fun painting for my beginners. So grab your supplies, transfer your traceable to your surface, and as always, make sure you take progress photos. Now on my traceable, I did go over it with a black Sharpie marker. For those of you at home, I'm going to pause the video and draw what you see. If you're using the traceable, you do not have to do the black outlines. Now for the background, I am using the palette knife and the scraping method. So this is a lot of fun if you've never played with the knife. And it kind of helps create a nice texture for the rocky path that our little Sea Lion Pup is on. So you can do this with a brush if you don't want to do the palette knife. And I would recommend that if you're going to use a brush, go ahead and watch the whole video and see where I add the second layer. And do that at the same time while you have your brush so your paint is wet compared to letting it dry like we do with the palette knife. So with that being said, with the palette knife, basically you just need kind of a straight, kind of rigid edge. So if you don't have a palette knife, you can use an old credit card, you can use a stiff piece of plastic, you could even use a piece of cardboard, though you'll have to use mini pieces because it'll start to lose its integrity and stiffness because the cardboard will absorb the paint. But we're laying that first background down with the raw sienna, and now we're moving into the burnt sienna and kind of filling in the top of the canvas in the top right hand corner. And I am overlapping the places where I put the raw sienna in there. Again, like I said earlier, I like that this just creates kind of a nice rocky texture for our Sea Lion Pup to hang out on. And as with any of my videos, you are more than welcome to switch out colors. If you want to do more of a solid color background or something totally different, go right ahead and do that. The palette knife, this kind of scraping method, because we are putting it on kind of thin. This is more my traditional style of painting for my professional work. And it's also very, very stress relieving. And if you need to, play with the pressure of the knife. Same if you're using the brush, play with the pressure of the brush. A little less pressure with the knife will apply a little bit more of the paint. It'll be a little bit more opaque coverage compared to the pressure that we used in the beginning. And you can see some of the white of the canvas through. No matter what, just kind of have fun and enjoy this non-traditional application. All right, and remember to breathe. I usually remind you that in the beginning. So take a deep breath. You're doing a great job. I'm really proud of you guys for painting at home. Now, as you move into getting ready to prep your little sea lion, since it's going to be such light colors on there, I do want you to clean up any of the places where your background may have overlapped into your Sea Lion Pup. And here you can see I'm using that middle flat brush. You can use the large flat brush, some water, and just kind of allowing the brush to pick up that excess paint. And you'll see a little bit later on where I actually grab a paper towel and wipe off some on that bottom left-hand flipper. So you don't have to get all of it off, but you do want to get a good majority if you've got some overlap on there, just because we are going to be using a light pink color. We're going to go monochromatic on our little sea lion. And it's just easier when you're going to put this lighter color on to make sure that you don't have a darker color on underneath. If you have already let this dry and you can't kind of wipe off that paint, just apply your next layer really thick, or apply multiple layers. So another place to pause your video, take your progress photo. And like I said, we're going to start with we're basically going to do the sea lion in a monochromatic color, which is going to be shades of pink. If you want to switch this out and do shades of tan or blue or teal or anything, feel free to just swap out the color. Now we are starting with that super light pink, and a little bit of red pigment goes a long way. And you saw that I was just barely adding some pigment. So hopefully you can see just that super light pink. And as we go through the sea lion process, I want you to just observe where I place each of these colors, the general shape that I make with this, and then mimic that to the best of your ability on your canvas at home. A big part of art is strengthening your power of observation, and that's what you're doing each time that you paint. You're looking at something, interpreting it, and then kind of having your go at it on your canvas. With that being said, if you are inclined to put a color somewhere I do not, if your instincts are pushing you in that, I want you to go ahead and trust that. Your instincts are leading you in the direction that you need to go. I'm just here as a kind of a simple guide to give you good encouragement. All right, so now we're making a bit of a medium pink, and basically I want you to go just 2 shades darker than what you were just using. So you may not match the color that I'm using, but I want you to go 2 shades darker than what your light color was. And that was just adding a little bit more pigment into that mixture that you first made your light color with. And again, observe where I'm placing these and the general shape. And as I come up to the lighter color, I am using light pressure with my brush and kind of moving this darker color into that light color. And this is called wet on wet blending. And it is a lot of fun to just kind of see that transition and see the softening of the 2 colors. So that way you don't have a sharp line in between your light color and your medium color. And as we move to the edges of the sea lion, I am actually making sure that I go over those black lines, especially since I used the Sharpie marker, but you do want to make sure that your paint goes right on top of all those traceable lines. And if you have to make your color a second or third time, don't stress about getting the exact same shade every single time. It is okay to have a little bit of diversity and variety in your color mixture, especially since you're a beginner and first-time painter. I really just want you to get comfortable with the tools and comfortable with the painting process. All right, so I think we've got a few more spots that we're going to put this medium pink. Now we're going a little bit darker, and again, 1 or 2 shades darker than what you were using. And I am still using that middle flat brush, but I would recommend for that tight space on his little mouth to go ahead and move down to the pointy brush. You'll have a little bit more control with that. And kind of filling in some of the flippers. I think we'll get all 3 flippers in there that are visible. And same thing, as this darker pink kind of comes next to and even on top of that medium pink, use that light pressure and play with the blending of the 2 colors and softening that line. If you are inclined to use your fingers to do some of the blending and finger paint, go right ahead and do that. It's quite satisfying. All right, so here I finally switched to that small pointy brush to do a little bit of the darker eyeliner underneath the eyes. I'm not going fully around it, it's just basically the bottom eyeliner. And it is going over that traceable line and on the underneath area. Again, remember to breathe. If your brush is kind of shaky as you went to do the eyeliner, that means you're holding your breath. So exhale as you touch the brush to your canvas, and that will make it a little bit easier. And I forgot that last little bottom flipper, and I am actually grabbing a bit darker, almost a pure red for this one. And we'll do a little bit on the other flipper as well. Or it's not a fin, a flipper. Their arms. All right, and again, like I said earlier, if you're inclined to put this darker color or another color or even a completely different color somewhere I do not, please trust that, because half of art is just kind of getting comfortable with your process. All right, so now we are moving right in while the paint is still wet, so don't work too slowly. You want to kind of make sure that your light pinks are still wet. And I grabbed that direct white and filling in the rest of the spaces that the canvas is still showing. And again, where I come up next to any of the shades of pink, where the white and the pink meets, that light pressure and softening that edge, and just kind of doing a little bit of blending. This is a skill that each time that you paint, you're going to build on your blending skills. So if you find it really uncomfortable for your first painting, know that it gets easier and more successful at it with more practice. So a lot of things that you're learning in today's painting, you're going to take into your next painting and you'll go, oh, this makes sense. Oh, okay, this is a little more comfortable. So painting's not about being perfect, but just getting more comfortable with your tools and your process. All right, so another place to pause the video, we're going to do the eye color. Pause the video and take your progress photo. And I'm going to give this little seal Sea Lion Pup a light blue eye, but again, if you want to do brown or you want to do purple or different colored eyes or green, go right ahead and make whatever mixture that you want for the eyes. And just like making the light pink, I started with the white. A tiny amount of blue pigment goes a long way. And on the eyes, if you happen to overlap the catch lights or that black pupil, don't stress. We will reapply them in the next couple of steps. You're doing great. All right, and this part is optional if you want a little bit more intensity in the eyes. I'm going up for just a few more shades darker blue and kind of right above where we put that eyeliner on, the bottom corner of the eyeball, just placing that right on top of the light blue. And if you look at it like the size of the face of a clock, doing probably from like 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. All right, and now moving back to the knife, we're going to put some shadows on there, and my background is dry. So I'm using that same pressure as I applied the black, and I am using a smaller knife. So if you're not using a knife, you can use a smaller piece of the cardboard, of the credit card, use the corner of it, cut a smaller piece of cardboard, or cut your rigid plastic down into something smaller, but just get creative. You got this. If you happen to be using a brush, I recommended earlier at the beginning of the painting to watch the whole video and do all your background at the same time if you're doing the brush, because your background's dry and this black would be rather opaque on top of it if you apply with the brush compared to applying with the knife. And if you miss that and you are painting with the brush, just kind of work this into it. We're going to put another color on top of it, so you can do another layer on top of your background with the brush or the knife. So here you can see that I've moved back to the burnt sienna, the reddish brown, and I'm going right over the black, still using that same pressure, now using the raw sienna, and we'll go over the top and the back. And as you do this, I want you to prop your painting up and look at it from a distance. And from that distance, do you need more of your darker space somewhere? Do you want more brown somewhere? Trust that as you look at it from a distance, as you're kind of filling in and overlapping all of the space on the background. And if you want to see kind of what this style looks like with a bunch of layers, I usually have about 100 layers on my painting. Go to my lovejoycreations.com and check out my portfolio there, and you can see tons and tons of paint palette knife scraped layers on there. All right, so another place to pause the video, take your progress photo. We're going to move into our outlining, and this is completely optional. We are using the small pointy brush and basically going over all those lines from the traceable. And this is kind of what gives it that pop art feel. And you can do this with the black, or you can do this with a different color. And here for the pupils, I went right over that catch light. We'll reapply it after we do the outlines. So as you're working with the brush, you want to play with your pressure of your brush. Light pressure will create a skinnier line. Medium pressure will create a bit of a wider line. And for the outline, I am using medium pressure because I want this line to overlap a little bit on the background and a little bit on your subject matter. And if you are doing this for the first time and you've got varying widths of lines in your painting, that's okay. Embrace that. That's where you're at for today. The next time that you paint, holding the brush and this pressure and consistency of line width will get easier and easier the more that you paint. Your muscles are learning a lot on how to hold the brush, how to do the pressure, and you're just got to embrace where you're at on your creative journey. If you are finding that your brush is shaky, that means you're holding your breath. So exhale as you touch the brush to the canvas, and that will make it a little bit easier. And just a moment ago, I added the little ear for the sea lion, and that is the difference between a sea lion and a seal. On a sea lion, you can see their ears are exposed, and you can see, like a little skin flap. And on a seal, their ear just kind of blends in with their fur. There's no extra extrusion for the little ear flap. So, little FYI, difference between a sea lion and a seal. Both are super, super cute little pups. All right, so here moving back to the white, reapplying that catch light. And again, you can pause the video or just look at where on the traceable where it's at. and now adding a few other highlights to a few other spots on the seal's body. Again, just observe generally where I place them, but also trust your instincts. If you're inclined to put this somewhere, I do not. Trust your instincts in the creative realm. They are guiding you where you need to go. Well, this guy turned out really cute. Thank you guys so much for hanging out and getting creative with me. Please don't wait too long to do your next painting. And until then, cheers.
Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed the process of painting and I hope you are happy with how your paintings turned out. I'm really proud of you for getting creative. As you're uploading these to social media, please tag me at or hashtag paintwithlovejoy or email me your pictures paintwithlovejoy@gmail.com. I really enjoy seeing them. I try to post them on social media to encourage other beginner painters to try the process of painting. But please share this with your community as well. Anybody who is kind of scared to paint, share your experience with them and let them know kind of how much you benefited from it and how much you enjoyed the process. So kind of share the fun. With that being said, if you have any comments, questions, feedback, things that you want me to paint in the future, please leave a comment. I try to respond to everybody as quickly as I can. And any of the future suggestions for paintings, I add that to my production list and get to them as quickly as I can. So in the meantime, please keep getting creative. Let me know how you're doing. And until next time, cheers.